allow things to take place. You don't just make them take place. If you want economic freedom, and we keep coming back to that, there is something that you don't yet know that will give you the economic freedom. And it's not known to you because you're not ready to receive it yet. But you will be. Trust in the unfolding nature of knowledge to you and in life. Trust that there is a higher intelligence, a higher awareness that is taking place in your life, as well as you making things happen for yourself. Trust that there's something for you to learn that you're not yet grasping. And then when you do learn that, then the next step will be revealed.
Hey, guys, it is Alison. I am the host of your show, Alison Answers Mission Awake. I cannot wait to sit down with you today and go over how we are going to crush the mediocrity in your life that has been plaguing our society since the beginning of time. I cannot wait to have a real deal conversation that includes intelligence, fun, excitement, and real actionable steps to make a real difference in the life that you're living now and making it into something you can be damn proud of and excited to live. Sit down, put on your damn seatbelt, and get ready for the ride of your life. Hey, guys, how are you today? I have a gentleman on the podcast today. His name is Barry Nicolaou. I believe I'm saying it correctly. And I was fascinated in having Barry come on the show because he just resonates with so much of what I believe, that thoughts are things and thoughts create. And he is going to explain a lot of his work and how all of his work aligns with that way of thinking. His biography is Barry's ability to locate and define his true purpose in assisting others began in 2015. His ability to do this was inspired by one fateful day at a cemetery that led him to write and publish a #1 best-selling book on Amazon. His book, The 11 Master Secrets to Business Success and Personal Fulfillment, outlines the 11 areas that intersect economic freedom with personal fulfillment. Which who doesn't need that? His strength is in deconstructing the layers beneath cognitive fear, indecision, subconscious paradigms, inherited thinking, habitual thinking, and their intimate relationship to real world expectations and experiences. His new consultancy, The Mindset Gap, along with his new book, Move the Mountain Intention Reset, exposes the most mindset gaps for leadership, personal and corporate employees to form an essential part of their resilience toolbox. His numerous mental health programs have also been added to his one-on-one work, assisting businesses to take a commercial look at their culture as a currency that feeds straight to the bottom line. I love that, and I believe that. Barry's one-on-one work can be found on the link provided in the show notes. So without any further ado, I'm really excited to have him. He aligns with so much of what we are about at Lager Counseling Services and the mission that I'm on to show people that they can create the life that they want, that we do not have to be stuck in the blueprints that we've been following our whole lives that are driving our outcomes physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially, financially, relationally. And we have the pathway to freedom. And I just love that Barry's going to give us another way out to find the way to create the life we want. Without any further ado, here he is. Hey, guys, how are you today? It is Alison from Alison Answers and Lager Counseling Services. As I mentioned before, I have a very exciting guest. He is about to blow your socks off by showing you the power that you have within and the way that you can use your thoughts and all the other magic that we have inside of ourselves to create the life we want. He's also a high-level businessman that is able to show us as entrepreneurs how to also master this within our businesses. And so I'm just so excited. I'm so glad you're here. It's such an honor to have you, Barry. Would you just share with us just about yourself? Like, how did you get here? And you mentioned off camera about Wayne Dyer and that he introduced you to a lot of this work. I would love to hear just a little bit about that.
Absolutely. And Alison, before that, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I think you're doing some impactful, amazing work. Please never stop. You are a light in this universe. So yeah, for me, a quick version, because obviously we don't have a lot of time. It all happened in 2015. I was in the shoe industry at the time, and I was on my way to an appointment. And as I was driving my car, I got a phone call saying that my customer was running late. So he said, Barry, can you delay me 1 hour until I arrive? And I said, no problem, I can do that. And the best way to describe what happened next was quite surreal. I felt that my car steered itself into this beautifully appointed cemetery in the northwestern suburbs of Sydney, Australia. You could probably tell by my accent that I'm not from the US.
Yes, it's awesome. I love that you're telling this story.
It's so cool. And it really is an example of how when you are ready, the universe really meets you. So as I was driving my car, I get out of my car, Alison, at this beautifully appointed cemetery in the northwestern suburbs of Sydney. And I start walking amongst these graves, right? Just to kill the hour. And I started to do the maths between the years of when people passed away and when people were born. And you start to realize something quite profound, which is you don't get 80 and 90-year-olds in those graves. What you do see is 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds. And then you go into the child section, and that's heartbreaking. But then you start to realize that you don't really know how much time you have. You know, like we think we have eternity, but really in this particular life, you know, people are passing away at any age. So it really highlighted to me that I wasn't really happy with myself. Like I wasn't fulfilled, and I wasn't doing what lit me up. And I didn't have the people around me to lift me up and then me also lift them up. It wasn't happening for me because the shoe industry was exciting, but it wasn't soul gratifying for me. So at that point, I leant up against my car in total frustration, total vulnerability, total loss in some respects. And I came into an understanding that I just wasn't happy. At that moment, I felt 3 words. And this is going to sound esoteric. It might sound kind of spooky. I don't really care. I've gotten past how it sounds because it happened for me.
Yes.
I felt the words "live your life" being projected on another level of communication that I didn't quite understand.
Yes.
And I thought, live your life. This is kind of strange. I was living my life. If you want to give me something, give me the lottery numbers. Give me something profound that I can really live my life.
Yes.
And then I thought, this is kind of weird. I just dismissed it. I thought it was, I was going crazy. I thought I was just losing my mind. So I just drove away and I went to my appointment. I went home that night, went to bed. And at 3 a.m. in the morning, I had this cold sweat. I woke up and the word "your" was highlighted, like live your life.
Yes.
Don't try and live a life based on somebody else's opinions.
Yes.
That led to me writing, and I thought, well, what does light me up? So at 3 a.m., I start writing all the people and the scenarios, people that have come from ultimate trauma, ultimate hardship, ultimate breakdown, and that have lived this beautiful life. What was their journey? What was their transition? How did they do that? I had this thing that looked like a book. I knew no one in the publishing industry. I know no one that has written books. I know no connections there. And then I get a random Facebook message saying, "We publish books. If you'd like to, if you'd like to get your book published, we'd love to hear from you." And I'm like, Wayne Dyer, you're at work.
Yes.
Because that was also the year that Wayne had passed over. And I thought, I felt like there was a passing of the baton in some respects. And I met up with the publisher. We got to #1 on Amazon in 6 countries and 19 categories on the website. The book was called The 11 Master Secrets to Business Success and Personal Fulfillment, because I wanted the economic freedom and the fulfillment side of life to collide. Those 2 areas must collide, because believe you me, Alison, there are a lot of rich, miserable people.
Yes.
There's a lot of them, right? And there are a lot of people that don't have a lot, that are truly, truly content.
Yes.
So it's time to I wanted to have the economic freedom, which freed my time, but at the
Yes.
same time, have the fulfillment aspect of sleeping at night, knowing that my work was rewarding as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
So that was in 20. That's the short version. I can bend your ear over a glass of wine, but that is the short version of what actually happened almost 8 years ago now.
Yeah. Can you tell
Mm.
us about that book, or, that
Mm.
the concept of economic freedom? And
Mhm.
because I really, which we know
Mm.
that we're all longing for that happiness and freedom, the real freedom. When we're thinking we want money, I know when I want more money, really what I want is I want to move
Time.
freely across this earth. That's really what I
Exactly.
want.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, I would love to hear
Mm.
everything you have to say about it.
Absolutely. And I guess I'll say two things with that. People that end up being economically free, there is almost, some people that I know, there's almost a greed that comes into comparing yourself to other people that also have it and then wanting more and more and more. I've got a friend of mine, he's an Italian immigrant in Sydney. He came to Australia with $11,000 in his pocket. And today he's worth close to $40 million. He owns shopping centers and what have you. And he has sacrificed everything for that money. He has no relationship with his family. He
Mm.
has a really horrible relationship with his wife. His
Oh,
kids, he's got two boys.
mm.
One child seems to be going okay. The other younger child is like, Dad, why would I work as hard as you? Do you think I'm crazy? I'll just sit back and one day get the inheritance. I'll buy
Wow.
the cars. And Dad just keeps paying off his debt, consistently paying off his debt. And to me, that's a really stuffed up version of success
Yeah.
because he has sacrificed everything. And even today, the only conversations he has is on how to make more.
Wow.
And I kind of sit down with him over a coffee and I say, listen, you've made it. You've now got the time to do what you want to do. As you beautifully put it, Alison, to move freely across the earth, to do
Yeah.
whatever you want to do.
Right.
But in his mind, he's also trapped in a different kind of cage. He's trapped in I don't know what else I can do. I don't know what else to do. My friends, my connections, the people that I know are all about this. And I know I've got bad relationships with my family. I know I don't have healthy relationships with nutrition, with exercise. I don't get enough sleep. I know, but I don't know how to change. And
Wow.
he feels that he's too far gone to be able to make those changes because unfortunately he's tied his self-worth to his bank account in
Yes.
many respects. So as his bank account
Mm.
lifts, his self-worth goes up. As his bank account dips, his self-worth goes down.
Yes.
And that's something we've got to really tie in here as well. You cannot tie your self-worth to an external anchor.
Yes.
Your
100%.
self has to be
Mhm.
tied to something very, very close into you, so it doesn't ebb and flow with the tide. It
Yes.
actually stays consistent
Mhm.
inside you, and that's very, very important in my life. So I try not to look at the bank account and go, well, now I feel great, and now I don't feel so great. And
Yes.
so be at a stage where you consistently be in a mindset of love and gratitude and tolerance, regardless of the external weather that's going on. You stay secure inside who you are.
I love everything you're saying.
Mm,
It's so beautiful because,
mm,
in the work, even just the conversation about manifesting, right?
mm, mm, mm,
We were just discussing this, is that really the manifestation is that freedom that we're describing, those and the deep
mm,
connections. When I think about the level of success that I've had, right?
mm, mm,
And I'm looking like, oh, I need more of this or that, like money, right? For whatever,
mm,
like I want to
mm,
open up
mm,
this center or whatever. And
mm,
then
mm,
like the last couple of days, and it's probably preparation for our time together.
mhm,
I'm like in my house and I'm like, what do you love? Like, what do you love? Like, what lights you up? And I was been thinking of it because I notice, like, when I'm around my house and I'm just doing simple things,
mm,
just
mm,
having a simple conversation. These are the things I love, like,
mm,
doing my garden, whatever it is, like this I love, but to admit I love it, like, you can have freedom. Like, that
mm,
really is what we want,
mm.
right?
Mm,
So,
mm.
and you know what's weird? I'm going to tell you this one thing, but I mostly want to hear from you. But I just am dying to tell
Please.
you this because I think I'm curious to hear what you'll say about it. I was at a conference, it must have been, I don't know, 8 months ago. I was at a conference and they were talking about what do you want? Like what success do you want or whatever. Now, anybody who's looking at me, they think I have a measure of success at counseling centers, whatever. I just kind of look successful, right? But I was really just going, God, like what do I want? What is my purpose? And like, I know that like the voices outside are like, you're doing your purpose. You've been doing this your whole adult life. You have counseling centers. You've done great things. And I was like, no, what is my purpose? And I heard, because I do hear that the way that you put it was so eloquent, but I almost explain it. It's like an audible voice, but it's not, it's inside me. So it's like I hear, and it's your purpose is, and it was very simple. Your purpose is to know your lovability, know you're lovable, and show other people their lovability. That's it. Nothing else.
That is so beautifully put. That is gorgeous.
And that was it.
And I was just going to say, the success you've had so far, Alison, you've lived a portion of your purpose, but maybe say in the next 20 years, 30 years, it could take a different road for you. It could be a simpler purpose, whereas obviously the counseling centers and staff and the whole understandings that come with running that sort of business would bring its degree of stress as well. So yeah, but I think that you have started on this path of helping people, and then deep down, the root under all of it, the foundation, if you'd like to call it that, is to actually teach lovability. It's really interesting. What brought me on this path was an Einstein quote, and it really kind of flung open the doors of curiosity for me. And I'm like, holy crap, if this is real, then I have a duty, a responsibility to be this person, right? And Einstein, if you have a pen, if you're listening, please write this down. Einstein asked, he said, every human being on the planet must answer this question. Do I believe that I live in a toxic or hostile universe? Yes. Or do I believe I live in a friendly universe? A lot of us might have heard this quote. Yes. And answering that consciously, not just kind of letting it mull for 30 years. No, actually answering it consciously, saying, well, Barry, I believe I live in. And by the way, the whole point of the question is not to give a drawn out answer. It's not about, oh, yes, Barry, half of it is 50% friendly and the other part is 50% hostile. And I can give you examples of both. It's not about that. No. It's about, I need to know where you stand. Yes. I need to know what footing, what you're standing on. Is it a hostile world or is it a friendly world? And the reason that we're forced to answer, or I force people to answer this question, is because your life ends up taking very different narratives based on your answer.
Yes.
It ends up going very different directions. If you believe inherently the world is hostile, and by the way, that's okay because you've been honest with me. Right? If you believe the world is hostile and try to put a lot of goodness and positivity out there, what tends to happen is that it doesn't manifest the way you want it to, because your inherent belief is hostility. So you'll always divert back to that. The subconscious mind will say, well, hang on now, you really don't believe that. So really, you're not going to see the physical representation of what you want, because inherently you believe the world is hostile. If you inherently believe the world is friendly and you give me examples of its truth, you see marriages getting back together, you see people working on themselves, you see babies that are fighting through disease and then surviving. You see people with podcasts like this, people putting in the effort, getting up at 5:30 in the morning and making sure that, well, it's true, right? Kind of getting through.
He got up at 5:30 in the morning.
Well,
or
exactly.
5, probably.
To do these talks. And then you believe, and then you put the work in, and then you go, well, Barry believes that it's a friendly world and he's putting the work in. And then what manifests out of that is a very different kind of future as well. So it's important to make that distinction. Like, it's super important, because it doesn't matter what work you do, what books you read, what podcasts you listen to, anything like that, unless you answer this underlying question in the right way, then a lot of the work we do is futile. We end up treading water much of our lives.
Yeah.
So you got to get to the friendly side. You got to answer Einstein's question consciously and even write it down. I believe the world is a friendly place, and this is why. And write down 5 examples underneath that.
And
And
this
then
is why.
and this is why. And then what happens when you say this is why? You give the brain examples of its truth. So all of a sudden you're convincing the subconscious mind that this is a truism. This is actually real. I'm not just making it up. These are the reasons. And then the left brain starts to work, the left hemisphere starts to work with the right hemisphere to co-create, because it's a truth. It's a logical truth, not just a fanciful thought that you'd like to materialize. So it's very, very important that for me, the new book that I've just written came out 4 months ago. It's called Move the Mountain, and it's all about resetting intention. And we dive into this question really deeply. And we go, unless you answer this question honestly and on the friendly side, it doesn't matter what words you read in this book. It doesn't matter what you do. Yeah. Sorry, I'm going on about it, but it's very important.
No, you
it's
are
very important.
Perfect.
Thank you.
What you're doing is perfect. I could listen to. I'm not trying to interrupt. I love everything you're saying. I'm curious about this. I have 2 things that I want to ask you about that, because I have always believed that the world is a friendly place and that I always believe in good outcomes. But when you said, and I have the evidence, and this is why, what I realize is that even when things don't look good, I still believe in good outcomes. And I've always believed that even when things weren't good. I don't know if it's just happened like before I was born, that I just came onto this earth with that something inside of me already, because the evidence wasn't there, but I have always believed it. That I'm going to have favor wherever I go. And it wasn't, I just believed it. I expect people to be nice to me. And which I think is interesting because but so I'm curious about how you feel about that. But also another thing I'm thinking you probably apply that question to all the different areas, finance, relationships, right? I would love to hear about that too.
Absolutely. And to answer your first question, I think if you come into any sort of situation, life experience with a certain expectation, and it's got to be more than an expectation as we understand what expectation means in clinical terms. It's got to be a knowing. Wayne Dyer talks about it, and his daughters, Sky and Serena, talk about this all the time. And they've got a book out called The Knowing, which is a great book on Wayne's life. And it's got to be a deep-seated knowing that doesn't need justification in the external world. It's just something you walk through life and it's part of me. I know this to be true. I don't need to see proof. I don't need to have a debate about it. I just know this to be true. What ends up happening with our knowings is that they materialize without any effort. They end up being part of who we are. And then when they happen, it's like no biggie. It's like, well, I've always known this kind of thing, right? So I think that's very, very different to say expectation, whereas expectation is more of a logical, clinical term. And sometimes our expectations don't really end up being fulfilled. Like even when we expect something in other people and we don't find that. Right. So I think to make the distinction between knowings and expectations is very, very, very different. Knowings are something that you move forward with in your gut. Expectations can flow either way. And I've missed your second question. What was the other part of that?
It was about how the question, Einstein's question about
that can be applied into all parents. Yeah, and absolutely. So in every situation you go into, you actually have to ask yourself, what do I believe to be true here? Let's take 3 areas. Let's take economic freedom. Let's take physical health and relationships. Right, 3 main areas that we're all after. Do I believe that there are people that have economic freedom that can walk the earth freely? Do these people exist? Well, if I'm forced to answer, then the answer is yes, right? Are there people in marriages or relationships that have a really solid foundation, have a good friendship foundation, and then a love kind of foundation on that? Are there people that have success in marriages? Well, the answer would be yes. Take the extreme of cancer. and then go, well, okay, so I had this horrible disease. Are there people that have healed from cancer? Can I research certain people in the world that have gotten through this thing? Can I find out more? How did they do it? I want to understand it more.
Yeah.
Can I do that? Yes. So then all of a sudden you start convincing the subconscious mind that these are true things. These are real things. These are people that are walking the earth now. So it's not like it's not real, because here are the physical examples, right?
Yes.
And then that's how, for me, that's how the left hemisphere of the brain ends up convincing the right that, well, this is true. All of a sudden you move forward congruently with both hemispheres of the brain working in tandem. And you move forward as, you don't really get pushed around by other people's opinions, because you could be at a party or at a conference and some strong personality can say, well, this is the way that it is, and you're a fool if you believe that it's not. That doesn't harm you as much, because that's his life experience and his opinion and his fact, that not necessarily the way your life's unfolding.
Right.
And this is the thing that I really want to ferret out. There isn't one reality. There are 8 billion versions of reality all playing out at once.
Right? That drives me crazy. Like I try to I'm like, Grace, this is my daughter. I'm like, I'm having my reality and your reality.
Oh my God.
I'm in my world and you're in your world, but they're together. Like, what are we doing? It's just so funny.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just, Grace is my daughter's name as well. This is surreal.
Oh, I love it.
How old is your Grace?
She's 18.
Well, mine is 6.
So she's a baby. Yes.
She's a bubby. Yeah.
I'm sure. And you have do you have other kids?
Yeah. So Harmony is 3.
Harmony.
Yeah.
Grace and Harmony.
Yeah.
That is perfect. So
thank you very much.
Oh my God. Yes. So, okay. So tell us, what would you say to someone who really wants this economic freedom, right? What is their path? I mean, you and I both know that people want things their whole lives, but they don't become it. They don't believe it fully, and they want it right into their grave. So how do you help people find what they really want and that freedom?
Absolutely. So the first thing I will say, it's not economic freedom you want. That's the glossy veneer of what other people will think of you, or having that money or in the bank or whatever it is, right? It's the feeling of having freedom.
Yes. That's
what you're after. It's the feeling, right? So let's just say I give you $5 million and you put that money in the bank and you say, well, Barry, that actually has bought me breathing space. It's bought me time. It's bought me, and you'll be describing what that money is bringing you. But really what you're doing is you're speaking about what you're feeling. That's what you're talking to me about. So the money in and of itself, the paper, the digital currency, or whatever it is, that's a physical representation of the feeling. So what I do is I engage with that feeling first. And this is how I help corporations, not just in the financial space, but in the leadership space as well. I need you to go in and understand that it's the feeling that you're after. Now, as most of us know, people that are into understanding the way our brain chemistry works, the subconscious mind cannot make the distinction between a real event and an imagined event felt vividly. It doesn't make that distinction. If you feel that, you've got the money, then the subconscious mind goes, you've got the money, right? Now, the other job of the subconscious mind is to show you the physical representation of your truest held beliefs. That's its job, man. That's what it's primed to do. If you believe the world is flat, you will go and research and you will find books to say the conspiracy is that the world is flat. It will show you the physical representation of what you believe to be true. So if you believe that economic freedom is in your future and you go, well, this is no biggie. This is actually millions of people in the world have this. So it's not like it's rare.
Yeah.
Right. So now, are there ways that I can do that? Oh yeah. The internet, there's people on Instagram making $100,000 a month. People have reached out to me on Instagram going, Barry, do you know how easy it is to earn $100,000 a month on Instagram? And I'm like, No. And then you start to
Could you
research some
tell us,
people.
Barry?
Could you tell us, Barry? Well,
How do you do that?
there's one particular guy is just like, it's just, but here's the thing, Alison, when I looked into him, right? It's not meaningful work. You know what it is? It's selling stuff to people that they don't really need.
And they don't want
And
it. Yeah, they don't need it.
and that, well, they're aimlessly scrolling, or they're just naturally
Yes.
progressing onto this link, and then this, oh, I'm bored with my life. I'll just spend $5,000 doing this, whatever. And I'm like, do I want my life to be that? And I'm like, every moment for me is precious. When I'm not inspiring people, I want to let them know that they've got the inspiration within them to do what they want to do. So yeah, this guy on Instagram, I can send you his link. He turns around and he goes, we have 5,000 people a month signing up because all people want is the money. And that's cool. That's awesome, but I want to earn the money helping people, because I find that that's meaningful. Everyone's different, but the economic freedom side of things, if you align yourself with just the economic feeling of having that freedom, then yeah, you can have that as well. Absolutely. But the feeling has to precede the physical representation. If that everything happens internally before it happens externally. So if you look at your life right now, everything that you have happening in your life, your family relationships, your job, your business, your health, what you're shopping for when you go to the grocery store, everything is a representation of an internal environment. Yeah. So if you want to change the external, the first thing you've got to do is change some internal wiring inside yourself. And all of a sudden, the physical world has to match that change of wiring. You just look at someone that goes to the gym, and in the first week, they see no results. The second week, there's no results. Fourth and fifth and sixth, seventh week, what you'll see is that they'll feel better before they look better.
Yes.
Right? You get up off the floor quicker. You're jumping steps 2 at a time now. You're actually running and you're not getting puffed anymore. And right. you're feeling better inside, right? And then eventually what tends to happen is that the body starts to look great in the mirror, and you start to go, hey, I look pretty hot. Right. I look like I'm pretty cut up here, and but it's 6 months worth of internal work, and the body is now showing you on the outside what all the work you've done on the inside, and the world operates in exactly the same way. So if economic freedom is something that you value and something that we all value, get to a situation where your internal environment ends up pointing you in that direction. You'll feel rich inside before you see the bank account rise.
It's amazing, because I've been practicing this for a while for all different things, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things, and I know that you know this, is that the experience of feeling the feeling of this not happened yet outside event, just it's already happened inside. You don't even need it to happen on the outside anymore, because
you don't.
It's not as important because you feel it on the inside.
Absolutely.
So your feel good, the actual feeling has been achieved. How would you help someone to, let's say they would imagine the feeling, but it's very hard for them to kind of conjure it up inside. How would you tell them to do that? I think we're talking about visualization yourself.
Absolutely. And first thing I will say is this. This isn't a time for memory. This is a time for imagination. A lot of us, what we tend to do is we look at our past and we say, it hasn't happened for us yet. Why would it happen for us in the future? Right? But this isn't a time for looking at your past experiences. What we're really talking about is turning a new chapter. Yeah. So with a new chapter comes new experiences, new thought patterns, new podcasts, new books, new relationships. Everything ends up being fresh, right? And then from that point, you have to understand that then experiences also become fresh. They become new. They become exciting. They become different. So when you are manifesting, or when you were wanting to bring something new into your experience, this is a time sitting down with yourself or me or whoever it is and saying, all right, let's actually consider how good this can get. Because there are enough people in the world talking about how bad things are. And worst case scenarios. Holy crap, get over worst case scenarios. Let's talk about best case scenarios. Yes. Because you have to balance it. And a lot of people don't do that, Alison. They just go, well, let's look at the worst. And all of a sudden, what are you doing? You're putting energy into making this thing happen. You're watering the plant of worst case scenario. So if you don't say, well, let's also balance the equation here with some best case scenarios. How good can this get? And take it fully. Talk about it for half an hour. Like, get into it. And if that happens, then that happens. And if that happens, then, oh my God, we can get on that podcast show. And if that happens, they've got millions of viewers, then that can happen. And if that happens, we're free. How good can this be? And the mind has to go down that road as well to give yourself clear-mindedness and clarity. You can't just go down looking through the keyhole of your pain and thinking that's the future. And by the way, try looking through a keyhole and get a grasp of what's in that room. You can't, because you're looking through a keyhole of your pain, right? You've got to open the door and walk in and go, okay, now I've got a grasp of the room. And now this makes sense to me. So it's truly wonderful when you can just balance the equation of the amazingness of where your life can head.
I love that exercise that you just described, because there's this thing like in psychology, which I'm imagining you already know, but it's called chain analysis. So we have somebody who, like, let's say we suddenly have a really bad feeling. It's like popcorn thoughts. They go like, and if you trail the thought back to where it originally began, it's, it could just be that someone looked at you a certain way that you interpreted in a negative way. And then one thought after another just brought you to this really dark place. But it's the same thing with what you're describing, like popcorn, just creating all the vast possibilities of this. It's incredible. The one of the things, tell me what you think about this. I'm curious. Okay. So when I started visualizing and imagining things, like dream things, whatever they are, right? What I started to notice, and I got feedback on just from, just reading and learning, was that, so I was creating, at first I couldn't picture the thing that would make me feel this great feeling. But then as I started doing it, each time it would build like another room or another experience. And it just started growing. And then what I started noticing, which those images started to come to me. I wasn't creating them anymore. So it was almost like God, I don't know, like it was now they were coming to me inside. So like new vast experiences, or almost like, I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's actually what I've experienced. Like when I go into this meditative state, it's almost like you see almost like it's like it plays out as like a movie. And it's like, wow, that would be great. And I'm not thinking, it's coming to me. Do you know what I mean by that?
So you're attracting it in
internally.
some yeah. That's actually a wonderful place to live. It's actually a two-edged sword, because there would be someone on the planet that would be attracting things in a negative way and going, my life sucks.
Yes.
Right. And you are on the complete other end of the spectrum. But I will dare say, Alison, that you've planted a lot of seeds in your past that have grown into beautiful plants. And you've thrown these seeds with a sense of love, and you've nurtured them, and they've grown. And what you're experiencing now is the physical representation of watering specific seeds. It's interesting. And this is the best way to look at it from my standpoint. If you look at a beautiful garden, right, and you look at a messy garden, and you go to the soil of those gardens, and you ask the soil a question, and you say, what are you like? And the soil will say, well, I nurture expansion. That's what I do. I don't care what you plant in me. You can plant poison ivy, you can plant roses. I don't really care. My job is to nurture expansion. Now you ask the next question, why would you grow poison ivy when you can grow roses? And the soil will answer with the only answer that it has, I nurture expansion. That's what I do. I have sunlight, I have nutrients, and you can cultivate me and I will grow whatever you want. The subconscious mind operates in exactly the same way. It nurtures expansion. Whatever seeds you end up planting, the subconscious mind will say to you, you must know what you're doing, because I'm going to grow this thing for you. I'm going to, regardless of what it is, right? So you look at someone with a beautiful garden, someone that has their life, quote unquote, set up really nicely. You know, their business is doing well, their relationships are okay, they love themselves, they go to the gym, they exercise, they eat right, they sleep right, they float through their day in some respects because they've kind of set things up right. They're not lucky people. What they are is they've cultivated their garden at the same time as they're planting roses, they're pulling out weeds. At the same time, because the soil is what? The soil is growing whatever it drops in it and whatever you plant in it. Yeah. So it's very important to realize that the subconscious mind is exactly... So if you're experiencing, where I'm getting to with this, if you're experiencing life that you're not happy with, then the first thing you've got to do is put your gardening gloves back on. Go into your garden and start pulling out the things, the people,
I need
the experience.
My gloves.
Get some gloves.
I'm going to get some gloves. Okay.
Get some gloves. And when you put those gloves on, think of me and pulling out these weeds, right? Yes. And then you go, now the gloves are preparation, like physical preparation for you to get in the garden, right? So think of it as also mental preparation as well. When the gloves go on, you're in a state of wanting things to change. So you start looking at what rose bushes, you start looking at where the sunlight comes in, you start looking at where the hose is, where the water is, where your front fence is. You start to consider your garden and you go, okay, what do I want here? Guess what? It's all mine. I can do whatever I want with this garden. You start to be very specific and very intentional about what sort of garden you want. Unfortunately, Alison, for a lot of us, we don't really care and we just let anything grow. And there are some beautiful parts and then there are some ugly parts, and life chucks its own seeds in there as well. And we're not really mindful of those. So we just let them grow as well. A bit of grass here and a bit of dirt over there. And it just ends up being this mess. And, you know, that's okay. For some people, it ends up being this really mixed experience of life. But if you're the kind of person that wants a very specific garden, like very specific, you want your path to be where your path is, your roses to be over there, your jacaranda tree to be over there, and you want it to be very specific, then you are got to be a specific gardener. You've got to put those gloves on. And then what happens is people that walk past your house admire your garden. And they say, oh, what a beautiful, look how much time. Yeah, man, she spends almost every minute of every day in that garden looking like that. So you can't really get jealous. So you can't sit there and compare, because if you're not in that garden, if you're in your garden once a year, you're going to have a very different garden. Yeah. So it's very important to realize that the soil underneath that underpins everything that your garden will grow. So everything you feed into this will show you the physical representation in the outside world.
I have to tell you, this is the best explanation I have ever heard. And I've heard so many. You are what do we call you? I'm a Spartan. No, a Spartan's
Barry.
Like a fighter. I don't even know what the hell you, like a wild spark. Oh my God.
Thank you very much.
So, okay. And I have to respect your time, because I think we're like up of time. Are we? Oh my gosh.
No, I've got time. Everyone's asleep in my house, so it's all good.
The entire house is asleep because of me.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, all good.
So, okay. I love this explanation. I'm going to use this, because the expansion part, we know that the unconscious mind, the subconscious mind will grow anything we put there. But I never thought of it as the soil is there for expansion. I just didn't, the way that you put it is so good. Okay. So if someone says, well, okay, Barry, how do I, because I can feel this. Like, I feel like I can put this like into like some practice, because there's things like that I keep circling back to, like no matter how high I get, the same story happens and I know it and I can see it. And I'm like, what is going on here? Right. So like, for example, somebody can make $1 million and spend $1.1 million, and somebody can make $45,000 and spend 40, and they have more, like that financial paper, right? So it's like, let me, I'm going all over it. What I really want to say is, how would you tell somebody to, in practicality, like how would they nurture that soil? Like, what would you tell like a client, like who just keeps circling around and getting the same results? How would you help them to visualize in that way?
First of all, I'd ask them what they care about.
Yeah. It's
Like
good.
truly care about,
Yeah.
and I'd write those things down. And if you look under the surface, for the person that wants $1 million a year coming in, and that's, by the way, that's my goal, right? So it's
Hmm.
interesting. If for the person that wants $1 million a year coming in, I would want to know what would they do with that if it was a reality right now. And let's just say that they're a chronic spender, and they spend $1,000,001. That to me, there's something underlying there, that tells me that they're actually wanting to. I'm not sure if I'd be
Get
tarring
rid of
everyone with
it.
the same. Yeah, well, show other people that they're successful in some regard. So the car, instead of being a $60,000-$70,000 car, it becomes a $300,000 car. Instead of buying a $50 jumper or t-shirt, it ends up being a $300 jumper or t-shirt. It's like everything goes up. All of a sudden, that $1 million doesn't go very far.
Hmm. Right.
But what I would definitely say to them is the whole idea of what I want to manifest is passive income, because that frees me up. So whether it's all the successful economic people that I know that have taught me, there's three income streams: there's a job or a business, then there's shares, and then there's real estate. For me, real estate is a biggie, because I want to be able to drive past something that I own. We've grown our wealth through real estate for many, many years. It's something that we like to grow in. And the great thing is it doesn't tie you to jobs as much. So if you're in a position to, say, buy a house, and in Australia, the way it works, houses usually rise 10% yearly, or 8 to 10% yearly. So in 10 years' time, you've doubled your money. Right.
Yes.
So you get to a position where you go, well, if I have three houses and I've bought them for 300,000 each, and that means in 10 years' time, I've spent $900,000 today, but in 10 years' time, it's going to be worth $1.8 million.
Right.
That's really interesting. Plus, by the way, I'm actually getting a scenario where I've got income coming in that can sustain me or take some of my pressure and stress away from having a full-time job. Maybe I can have a part-time job, and then I can kind of do what I love in the other 2 to 3 days, or something along those lines. The brain starts to go, okay, this actually makes sense now. I can do it this way. But find out why you want the money. Like, I know it's like a stupid question in some respects.
No, I don't think it is. It's a good.
Why do
question.
you want it? Why do you want it?
Yeah.
Like, and then based on that answer, then I know what their intentions are. And
so when you
also
find out why, so you find out why they want it. You are also describing, like, when you're describing the scenario about, like, having it, what that would look like and how it could grow. What happens after that? Why? Like, let's say you're going to find out the feeling, I think, right?
Well, no, I find out their reasonings. And then based on those reasonings, if they congruently align with who the individual wants to be, then they're on path. But if they are doing it to show off to their friends because their friend on Instagram just bought a Lamborghini and they want to try and buy a Lamborghini as well, that's a very different intention. It's right. It's different. If I sit down with you, Alison, and you say, well, Barry, this is my plan. I want to start this charity in Indonesia. I want to help this church in Boston, and I want to start my own pilgrimage to Spain and Portugal every year. And I want to take 50 of my best clients over there, and I want to experience the Kokoda Trail, or I want to experience whatever it is. And you go, this is how I want to do it. When you work for your passive income, you'll be working from a very different standpoint than the guy that just wants to buy the Lamborghini, right? Yes. Because you're actually adding value to the world in your own way. Not saying that one intention is bad and one intention is good. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's going to come from the money is going to come from a very different desire. It's going to come from, well, I want to help people, therefore I need this much coming in because I want to help the disadvantaged. And I find that when I sit down with that kind of person, all of a sudden the avenues of where the money could come from explode. But the guy that just wants the sports car to show his friends he's quote unquote successful, that comes from a very different intention as well. That's usually the guy that spends more than what he has.
Yes.
Because he can't really afford the Lamborghini, even though you can go and pay cash for it. You can't do, you know, what sort of maintenance?
Want it anyhow? It's so small. Sorry.
Well, it's a success. It's a success symbol.
Right.
It is. You don't see them every day on the road. Right. They are absolutely masterpieces of machinery. But hey, if you've made it and you've got unlimited money and unlimited time and you want to spoil yourself, well, go for it. That's, and if it's something that you love, like if you love what a Lamborghini represents, and I'm just using a silly example,
Yeah.
if you love what a Mercedes or a Lamborghini, or you love the engineering aspect of the car, you appreciate what goes into that particular car and the thousands of hours that's involved in making this thing real, then that's a very different energy to the person that actually just buys it to keep up with the Joneses. It's very, very, very different. But yeah,
it's coming from fear and feeling less than, right? The other one
inadequate. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So okay, so can you just tell us about the 11? I mean, I know you can't give away your whole secret, but like the 11. I want to say it right.
Oh, the book, you mean?
What is it called? Your book? Yes,
the 11 Master Secrets. That's the first book that was written.
Master Secrets in an Australian accent. I love it.
First of all, with the first book, I'm going to ask people to go and buy it because you can listen to me all you want, and the next thing you'll do is make a sandwich and you'll forget. Buy the book on Amazon. Just type in my name, Barry Nicolaou. Buy look up the 11 Master Secrets. The new book is much more exciting because I delve into the science of creative visualization. The new book is. Yeah. Please look up, and I might send you a copy in the mail, Alison, for you to have a little read. But it's called Move the Mountain, Intention Reset.
I love that.
Yeah, it's all about, and I didn't have the title until a month before the book was done. And I was listening to a song by a beautiful Christian artist, and she's talking about moving the mountain and having the faith to be able to move the mountain. And I thought, what a beautiful title.
I'm getting that book today. I'm going to get it like we're done. I am. It'll be at my house tomorrow morning.
Please buy it off Amazon.
No,
it's there.
100%. Because the faith to move, like, isn't everything that? The belief is just everything.
It underpins everything. It underpins the life experience that you want to live. Like, I've got these beautiful 6 steps, and I might share them with you, Alison, if you're open to it. These are the 6 steps to getting whatever you want, right? Yes. And this is something that I work with and I charge a bit of money for, so this is for free. So the first thing you've got to do, and please write these down.
I'm writing it down.
The first thing you've got to do is identify your desire. Like, I want to know what you want. I want you to be laser specific with me. Now, I don't want you to tell me what you don't want, because that's easy to do. I don't want to be unhealthy, and I don't want to be broke, and I don't want cancer, and I don't want to be lonely. I don't want that. I want you to tell me what you want. Tell me what you're for, not what you're against. Okay? Because you're going to get what you're for. Okay? A lot of people don't get much because they don't identify what they're for. They only tell me what they're against, and then they receive more of what they're against. Yeah. So it's kind of like, no, let's identify what you're for. That's the first thing you've got to do. Get laser specific, write it down. Barry, I want X, Y, Z. The second thing you got to understand, the second step is that you need to see if this is a reality in the world. So is this real in the world right now? So I go out there and I go, okay, I want this. Is this real for someone in the world? And you start researching people and you start going, well, it's real for them and it's real for them. And it looks like it's real for that person. And that person's gone through trauma and they've got that. So it's real. This thing that I want is not just a fanciful thought. It's actually a truism. And again, it's the feeling of the desire. It's not the actual desire itself. It's, I've got this and it feels this way inside me, right? It's the feeling, not just the desire. So identify the desire. Is this a real thing in the world? So is it a reality for someone else in the world? Tick, it's true. The third area is to feel the feeling in your body. So what I need you to do is to creatively visualize, meditate 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. Please find the time to do this. And you go into a state where you feel that this is real in your life right now. So you need to go inside, and this isn't a time for memory, and it's not a time for doubt. It's a time for what can be, right? This feels really good. So let's just use economic freedom. Oh, I've got the money in the bank. This feels really good. Where would I be going right now? Where would I be living? Who would I be helping? Where would I be eating? What family member could I help? How would that work? I wouldn't want the money back. I'd just give it as a gift because I want to help them. So you start running through how would this feel in my body? Now, the reason we do the feeling exercise is because, as we said before, the subconscious mind cannot make the distinction between a real event and an imagined event. And its job is to bring your truest beliefs into reality, right? So it'll show you the physical representation, just like the soil will show you the physical representation. The subconscious mind has no choice. You're putting it into a corner. You're actually saying to it, this is true. So where is the reality to match this? So you start to go down that road, and the subconscious mind goes, your wish is my command. I will show you the representation of that, right? So feel the feeling. That's the third step. The fourth step is to release doubt and toxicity. Now, doubt and toxicity doesn't necessarily come in the form of people all the time. It comes in the form of bad food choices. It comes in the form of 6 or less hours sleep a night. If you're not getting at least 6 hours consecutively, you're actually having trouble converting long-term memory and short-term memory. If you don't get 6 hours straight, a lot of new parents experience this where they forget people's names because the baby's up every 2 hours, 3 hours, and we had that experience with our 2 girls. So it's very important that you try to get 6 hours in a row sleep minimum every night. So release the friends and the family. And I'm sorry, this might sound a bit harsh, but get to a situation where you identify the toxic relationships in your life. Sometimes they could be friends and family, and decide what you want to do with that. Limit your interaction if you can, and release toxicity. Very, very important to do, because you can do the first 3 areas really well, but if you leave toxicity and doubt at its current levels, then you're not moving forward. You're just treading water, right?
Yeah.
The fifth, 100%. So you got to say that's pulling the weeds as well as planting the rose bushes. That's the pulling the weeds part. The fifth area is to release the timing of things. Very important to release the timing of things. Try forcing a flower to open. And try it. It's a bud, and you're screaming at this bud. You're not open. You're not going to be a flower. You're a horrible little plant.
And then it never opens.
And then it goes, stuff you.
It just withers.
It just withers away. Exactly. Yeah. And then try forcing the waves of the beach to come in when you want them to come in, not when the rhythmic balance of the earth wants them to come in. Like, try and force things through, and let me know how that goes for you. Some people will say, well, Barry, I've set goals and I've forced things through and I've had success. And I'll answer to that, and I'll say, well, yeah, you've probably had good success, but it's probably temporary success.
Yeah.
Whereas if you let life work to its own timing, Barry, you are at the level now where you're ready to understand something deeper, right? And that's when the second book came out, 8 years down the road. It wasn't like it happened straight away. Yeah. So it has to come at a stage where you let life, you allow things to take place. You don't just make them take place. So if you want economic freedom, and we keep coming back to that, there is something that you don't yet know that will give you the economic freedom. And it's not known to you because you're not ready to receive it yet. But you will be. Trust in the unfolding nature of knowledge to you and in life. Trust that there is a higher intelligence, a higher awareness that is taking place in your life, as well as you making things happen for yourself. And if something's not happening, just go, okay, God, I trust you. There is something that is going on here that I don't quite grasp. And that's okay, because I'm human. I'm learning until I die. Right? So I'm open to that. I'm open to learning every step. And God, if you feel that I'm ready to learn this next thing, please give it to me at the right timing. So that's the fifth step. Release the timing of things. Don't choke things by saying it has to happen now. Trust that there's something for you to learn that you're not yet grasping. And then when you do learn that, then the next step will be revealed. And the last area is to embrace your new reality. So once you have achieved the economic freedom, or once you have received the life partner, or once you've gotten past a specific disease or something that you feel you needed to get past from a health point of view, understand that you're in a situation where you can get bigger if you want to. It's the same energy that moves the mountain that moves the pebble. It only looks different in our minds, because what underpins moving the pebble and moving the mountain is what? It's belief. And the universe doesn't care if it's a mountain. It doesn't care if it's a pebble. It's just going to understand what you believe and then show you the representation.
Okay. I literally feel guilty with how much you have shared because
No, no, it's fine. It's
the
fine.
gold you have shared here today is so beautiful. And I really mean that. I feel this at times with people on a podcast. I'm a better person because I've met you. Just the way that you've shared this is just like it's so like a different kind of packaging, which is really cool. Like I think about the state of surrender is so powerful, faith and surrender, trust, and I just hear you talking about that. And I could talk to you for like the next 5 hours, but I have to be respectful because I know like it's whatever. It's probably like 6:30 now in the morning over there. I'm sorry again for this early call. I want, first of all, we're going to have all of your information in the show notes, but where would be the best place for people to get in touch with you, find you? And I also just want to say, please like, share, purchase. This information is so valuable. I am literally going to go get everything that he has because I know it will add value. And think about how I'm telling like the audience, it's like, think about how many years I've been doing. I own counseling centers. I've been doing this like 30 years. And this man, I'm like glomming every bit. So I can't like just get his stuff. That's all. Where would they get your stuff and all of it?
Listen, so the most common place you'll find me these days is on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So just find my LinkedIn profile there. Just Barry Nicolaou, type it into LinkedIn in the search engine. You'll see me come up. From a corporate point of view, my new business is doing extraordinarily well. Go to the mindsetgap.com, please, because that's for corporate clients. And that's basically translating all my philosophies and understandings into the corporate world, which is super, super, super cool. And then just go to barrynicolaou.com if you'd like to know more about the work that I do and the books and how to help people. So the surname's a bit tricky to spell, but I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes, Alison.
We definitely will. And just in regard to that's that whole other thing that I was dying to know, because all the core values, like you can infuse, like our corporations are organisms, and like all the people are like, you can actually change the culture that creates the manifestation in the business. So I know you do that. That's your thing, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I had a guest reach out to me from a podcast I was on in New York, and she said to me, she said, Barry, I've listened to your podcast. I want to represent you. I don't want to get paid for it. I don't want money from you. I want to just spruik your name over here. And what she said to me, and she's now my representative, she said to me, Barry, the problem with corporate America, she was saying, is that there's a lot of people teaching closing, how to close the sale, but there's not a lot of people teaching mindset. And she said, where we can inject you and where we would love to inject you is not necessarily how to sell, but how to keep on the bandwagon, how to keep selling, how to keep consistent, how to keep resilient. And all of a sudden, the techniques of how to sell are already embedded in that. So it ends up being this fortifying, underpinning structure for corporations that want to keep their employees engaged and resilient in the face of, say, recession or in the face of layoffs. Amazon is laying off like thousands of people, and you hear about all these layoffs. It's like corporations are scared, Alison. They are so scared because they're losing market share, they're losing their people. And if they engage someone like, say, the Mindset Gap or whoever it is, then there's a lot of truths that can be given to those people that can make them resilient in their personal lives, but also in their corporate lives as well. So that's what I teach. It's really cool.
It's amazing. Oh my God, I want to say so much, but I can't. Oh my God. But yeah, because this is what we do here. Like we find the people's dreams and help them get them.
Yeah.
Work here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It creates like a light. Yes. Okay. I'm going to stop because you just are the best of the best of the best. I want to thank you so much for getting up early all the way across the world and just showed up. I was like, he's not coming.
Thank you.
He's sleeping. But
no.
Thank you. I'm honored to know you. And I'm
likewise.
Bless you.
Alison, I don't think any of us truly appreciate how far the ripples will spread. And I don't think we'll ever know, and maybe it's not our job to know. but the ripples will spread far and wide. If one person makes one good decision based on this conversation, we've done our work.
And I believe it. It's like, I was just telling my whole team this, that think about the children of the people that you've helped, and then their children. It is very far reaching. We have a lot of impact, and you are just a light. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. And we'll keep in touch. Obviously, it'll be great.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to the show. I just want to say to you that we are all together a part of the Mission Awake, a mission that's going to stop the mediocrity that's plaguing all of us. So if you got something here today, I ask that you would be a part of this mission and you'd share it with whoever you can. Take a screenshot of the show and share it on your Instagram. If you are looking for me, you can find me on social media platform Instagram, Alison Answers, or Lager Counseling Services. And give us a review and subscribe if you could to YouTube, Alison Answers. That's where you're going to get a lot of content. I drop stuff every day, goofy stuff, all different kinds of stuff. 5-minute videos that just get you moving in your day. Have a great week. See you next time.